Hey you guys, welcome back to another Inktober review. This week we'll be covering week 2, which will be days 6 through 12. I am following the official prompt list, and if you haven't already seen my first video covering days 1 through 5, I'll have that link below for you to check out. If you're not already following me on Instagram, please go ahead and do so that you can keep up with my Inktobers on a day-to-day basis. But let's go ahead and get into week 2. So day number 6, the word was husky. This one I went very obvious. I just did a husky. I tried to kind of give it like a mountainous background just so that there was something interesting to kind of break up the rest of the composition. I do think that I could have probably executed this piece better, but as I will discuss with you a little bit later on, I was sort of struggling with getting the creative flow going at the beginning of this week. So this one, it's not bad, but it's not my best, and I recognize that. But as you'll see as we move through the rest of the week, I did sort of refine my process and put a little bit more effort into each piece. But overall, this piece is fine. Moving on to day 7, the word was enchanted. So I mulled over a few different ideas for this one, but eventually I landed on the image of snake charming. In India, there's a practice of snake charming where a snake charmer plays an instrument called a pungi, I believe it's called, and basically it hypnotizes the snake, and it has like a dance that it does coming out of a basket. So that's what I went with here. I actually really like this piece. I really like the way it came out. It's just stylized enough for me, and I think that it conveyed the mood and the overall theme, which was enchanted. Day number 8, the word was frail, and I kind of had a tough time coming up with an image for this one, but eventually I landed on a fawn, like a baby deer. They're called fawns, right? I'm pretty sure they're called fawns. Again, keeping it really simple. Stylizing just enough. Now this is a piece that maybe didn't convey the prompt as well as I would have liked, but I think that in general the piece itself came out well. I think that it's sort of the start of me getting back into the swing of things with my Inktober's. But basically I was just trying to show a deer just sort of humbling itself, and you know, fawns, I think about the fragility of them being so young and having a difficult time walking, so this is sort of the image I was going for. The finished piece looks a lot more like a doe than a fawn, but I think in general it came out just fine and I was pretty pleased with it. For day 9, the word was swing, and I decided to do a spider monkey. I settled on that animal almost immediately because I could just sort of see it in my head. I did a little bit of research for reference just to make sure that the proportions were conveying appropriately, because spider monkeys, you know, they have really long limbs. So I wanted to make sure that that conveyed appropriately and just to make the swinging motion realistic. But yeah, again, kept the rest of the composition relatively simple, just having him swinging from one vine to another, and then a little bit of foliage and like trees to kind of break up the background space. Now, day 10, the word was pattern, and this is where I got my mojo back. So this was another piece that when I originally was going over the Inktober list, I immediately got an idea for, and I'm really happy with how this ended up coming out. I had a lot of fun with this process, which is the first time I've been able to say that since probably day 2. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I got a very good response from this piece. I just imagined like the pattern of a jaguar just completely covering the entire frame, but with the jaguar's face actually breaking up the color blocking. I also was imagining this being something that required less ink washes and something that I could do more in just straight black and white. I did add in a few details with my white gel pen just to give the face a little bit extra definition, and so that it separated itself just a little bit more from the background leopard. But yeah, this came out exactly as I had hoped, and I'm really happy with it. For day number 11, the word was snow, and I bounced around a few different animals but eventually landed on the Japanese macaque. Is that how you pronounce it? They're the snow monkeys, the ones that hang out in the hot springs in Japan. I've seen plenty of images of them online, especially as I was doing some research for my other animal project, and I thought that'd be a perfect image for this. I had a lot of fun with this one as well. I'm much happier with how the fur came out on this as opposed to the bison that I did on day 4. I think that the fur texture came out much more effectively. I really like the intensity that I got out of his eyes, and I like the way that the background actually translated. I was a little bit worried that it would sort of meld together, but I do think that it broke up nicely and the environment translated appropriately. This is another piece that I got a really good response on, and again, this is part of me getting my groove back with my Inktober's. And then the final piece for the week, day number 12, the prompt was dragon. And while I did consider doing a mythical version of a dragon, I decided to just go with a Komodo dragon just for the sake of being a little bit different from what my immediate thought was. I still wanted the composition to be a little more interesting than just a reference style drawing, so I did an overhead of a Komodo dragon and tried to balance out the circle that I have for the background with the curvature of his tail, just to kind of give, again, some interesting dynamics to the composition itself. This piece is very heavy on the wash side, but I still think that it was well executed. It didn't take up too much of it, and I really liked the way that the white gel pen ended up breaking up the space and defining the dragon itself. So I want to be very honest with you guys about how I've been feeling about this Inktober. If you've been following my channel for a while, then you know how I feel about Inktober. It's one of my favorite times of year, creatively speaking, on top of the fact that it falls in my favorite month. I've been doing Inktober every year since 2016, and every year I've gone through something kind of heavy during that time, but always managed to follow through, always managed to stay in my groove and really make the most out of the time from a creative perspective. But this year, to be perfectly honest, I haven't really been enjoying myself. Up until the past few days, Inktober's been extremely stressful, and not in a need for perfection way, but just the obligation has felt like too much. The only thing that I can really think of that's different, that may be affecting why I'm feeling this way, is my day job, because there's just a lot that's on my plate, and so I'm pretty worn out by the end of the day, and I get home and I don't really want to have to do anything, but I have to do my Inktober. I have to keep working on this because I'm on a different timeline than everybody else with it at this point, and it's just been really tough. I haven't been enjoying the process as much. I haven't been feeling creatively inspired. I haven't really been feeling motivated. I've just sort of been moving through the motions this year, and I never want Inktober to feel like the way it's been feeling, and it's been really sad for me to be feeling so disinterested in something that has consistently been a really high creative point for me every single year, and it's been disappointing that I've been feeling that way. But I've had a couple of conversations with friends, one conversation in particular with my best friend that sort of changed my perspective on things, and I think that's what unlocked my ability to re-enter a creative flow with this. So basically what we discussed was that if this is something that I really want to dedicate myself to, this is something that I want to pursue for my career, potentially working with clients and with companies at some point, I'm going to have to be able to produce when I'm not feeling creatively inspired and when I'm not feeling the instinctual motivation to make. The reason I had been pushing through it up to that point anyway was for what I refer to as future Dana. Everything that I do right now is for future me, to set myself up to have the best creative career that I can. And this Inktober has been quite the challenge for that. I have sincerely considered quitting Inktober for this year, but I had that conversation with my best friend and she was completely right. And even though I was already thinking about it in terms of I'm doing it for me 2 years from now, I'm doing it to like better myself and to strengthen my skills and that sort of thing, I didn't really consider the full scope of that perspective. And talking to her really helped me clear my mind, really helped me reframe things and approach everything from that point on with a much more positive perspective. So at this point, if I'm being honest with you, I am doing Inktober to prove to myself that even if I'm not having that instinctual burst of creativity for every single piece, that I am able to execute something that's good and something that I can feel good about sharing every single day. It is about my follow through, and it is about that satisfaction of committing to something and finishing it. And I do think that that's a place that I struggle with when it comes to my work. There's a lot of pieces that I've started and haven't finished and haven't even shared with you guys. That's something that I need to work on, and that's something that I intend on really dedicating myself to over the next few months, especially as we're working our way up to 2020. So I'm sharing this with you just to say you're not alone if you're struggling with it and you're feeling frustrated with it. I really think it's important for us to check in with ourselves and be honest with ourselves about how we're feeling about our art and how we're feeling about our process, and use that self-awareness to help reframe things and to help put things into a better perspective so that you're not feeling so burdened by it, because Inktober so far has felt like a burden. I'm so glad that I took time to really discuss everything that I was feeling with a good friend that day, because talking to her just helped me so much with my self-awareness and with putting things into a better perspective. And I really want to encourage all of you guys to do that for yourselves. If you're feeling stressed out, or if you're feeling like Inktober's too much, or like you're not enjoying it, I think that is important that you're honest with yourself about that. And if you can reframe to a place that you get your creative flow back like I was able to, then that's awesome. But if you don't beat yourself up about it. Like I said before, I strongly considered quitting this year. Sometimes it's what you have to do. Sometimes it's more important to be in a good, healthy space mentally and emotionally than to do something because of content, or because you have to, or we know whatever pressures it is that we put on ourselves. I'm glad that I took the time to evaluate myself, and I am really happy that I was able to find a better perspective about it, because again, I love Inktober and I really do want to finish this year. I wanted to try to push myself to finish anyway, so being able to put myself in a better mindset about it is really helpful, and I'm glad I was able to do that before I went ahead and threw in the towel. So that conversation took place right before I started working on day 10, and I think that you can tell based on the quality of the work from day 10 on that I definitely got back into a flow. And based on the work that's coming this next week, I can tell you that I'm feeling a lot better, and I think that that shows in my work. So I'm excited to share the rest of this month with you, and I hope that you're looking forward to it as well. That's basically it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I do just want to give you guys a reminder that I am having a fall sale until October 31st. You can get 25% off of everything in my store with code FALLMOON, and that includes some of my Inktober's from 2017. You can go to dtsukic.art/shop to check that out, and I'll have all that information below for you as well. I hope you guys will join me for the next video to go over week number 3. And once again, please follow me on Instagram so that you can keep up with my Inktober's on a day-to-day basis. Thank you again again so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.